Hello, all my peeps out there in YouTube land, all my friends that are watching there in the chat room, and all my lurkers, and all my people from Memorex that'll watch me later on. Glad to have you with me today on the 27th day of July, 2016. What a beautiful day it is today. Sun's a shining, a few leaves are twitching on the trees. It's going to be another hot one, but beat snow. Glad to have everybody with us today. Haven't done a whole lot this morning. Been a little lazy, I guess. I did do a little bit in the craft room. Been working on pushing ropes through rocks. If you've never pushed a rope through a rock, you don't know what you're missing. It's a whole new level. Lord have mercy. But we got a lot of news to talk about today, a lot of current events, so I'll go ahead and just hop right on into it and get you going. The first one that we've got that I'm going to talk about is the Washington Post. It's called Historic Night for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party. In Philadelphia, Hillary Clinton on Tuesday became the first woman to be nominated for president by a major political party on a historic night during which her campaign also sought to reintroduce her to skeptical voters and calm continuing tensions here. Part of the task fell to former President Bill Clinton, who delivered a keynote speech at the Democratic National Convention that began by recounting his courtship of his wife and detailed her lengthy career in public service, including helping children, immigrants, and people with disabilities. She's the best darn change maker I've ever met in my entire life, the former president said. This woman has never been satisfied with the status quo on anything. She always wants to move the ball forward. That's just who she is. Bill Clinton also argued that Republicans had tried to turn his wife into a cartoon during their national convention last week in Cleveland. What's the difference in what I told you and what they said, he asked. One is real, the other's made up. You just have to decide which is which, my fellow Americans. Hillary Clinton, along with her daughter, Chelsea, are scheduled to address the convention Thursday when she formally accepts the nomination. But Tuesday night, she appeared on a large screen, remote from New York, thanking the delegates for helping her put the biggest crack in the glass ceiling yet. Clinton formally secured the nomination earlier in the night during the roll call of states, which ended with a symbolic gesture. Her primary rival, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, asked that Clinton be declared the nominee by acclamation, a move that prompted resounding cheers. Soon after, Clinton sent out a video on Twitter showing Sanders' remarks and declaring "Stronger Together," her campaign motto. Sanders' action, however, was not sufficient to bring on board all his delegates, some of whom walked out of the hall in protest. That added to the party's difficulties this week in displaying unity as Clinton fights a pitched battle against Republican nominee Donald Trump. The program then turned to a long series of speakers offering testimonials to Clinton's character and record of service. They included a series of mothers who have lost their children to gun violence or in police custody and are now fighting for reforms. Hillary is one mother who can ensure our movement will succeed, said Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, who was fatally shot by a neighborhood watch volunteer in Florida. Chants of Black Lives Matter could be heard in the convention arena as women who call themselves the mothers of the movement made their emotional presentations. Roll call vote. During the roll call of states, Clinton, former Secretary of State, secured 2,383 delegates needed to win the party's nomination when South Dakota delegation cast its votes. Sanders, the runner-up for the nomination, appeared on the convention floor at the end of the process and made a motion to suspend the rules. I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States, Sanders said. With the motion seconded, a loud roar of ayes arose, making her the nominee at 6:56 p.m. Eastern. The orchestrated show of unity followed a rocky first day of the convention on Monday when it became clear that some Sanders supporters were not ready to accept Clinton as the party's nominee, despite the senator urging them to do so. After the roll call, some exited the hall chanting, "Walk out, walk out, walk out." As the program continued, most of the seats in delegations from Maine, Kansas, Alaska, Oklahoma, all states Saunders won against Clinton, were empty. Several Oregon delegates, meanwhile, wrapped black cloth around their jaws as gags and headed into the hallway at Wells Fargo Center. There they met dozens of angry delegates from other states. The anger of the protesters was fueled in part by the leaked emails showing that some Democratic National Committee staff members discussed ways to help Clinton and hurt Saunders in the primary. The party's chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, announced her resignation Monday after the revelations. Ron Drundle, a Saunders delegate from Louisiana, walked out wearing a button with the unprintable initialism DNC-GFY. The whole election process has been a farce from the get-go, Drundle said. There are a dozen states with election fraud investigations and nobody's saying anything about it. It's a shame. The nominating process began shortly after 5 p.m. with Saunders' name put forward by Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat of Hawaii. She affectionately called him a somewhat frumpy and maybe even sometimes grumpy 74-year-old guy who created a progressive movement. Saunders sat in the convention hall next to his wife with a broad smile on his face as a pair of seconding speeches followed. He stood up and waved to the crowd afterwards amid an extended ovation. Clinton was nominated by Senator Barbara A. Mikulski, Democrat of Maryland, the Dean of Women Senators, who said she was putting forward the former Secretary of State's name on behalf of all the women who have broken down barriers. Mikulski was followed by Representative John Lewis, Democrat of Georgia, the revered civil rights leader who reverenced another glass ceiling that was broken with President Obama's election 8 years ago, and Nali Amaru, Clinton supporter and Iraq veteran who won an online contest to nominate the candidate. When Illinois, Clinton's birthplace, got its chance in the roll call, the honor of casting votes was given to her childhood friend, Betsy Ebling. On this historical, wonderful day, in honor of Dorothy and Hugh's daughter and my sweet friend, I know you're watching, Ebling said, her voice heavy with emotion. This one is for you, Hill. She called out Illinois' 98 votes for Clinton and let out a final yes. Speaking for Clinton, after the nomination was complete, speakers offered testimonials about Clinton's public service across a range of areas, and her campaign aired an accompanying series of videos with archival footage showing her efforts. The program, billed as Fight of Her Life, appeared aimed at rehabilitating the image of a candidate with unusually high unfavorable ratings, though not quite as high as her Republican opponents and deep-seated trust issues. Speakers called about Clinton's work for women and families, social justice, health care, and global security, among other issues, her campaign said. They included former Vermont Governor Howard Dean, who recounted Clinton's efforts to help create the Children's Health Insurance Program while she was First Lady. She never forgot who she was fighting for, Dean said. The presentations also paid tribute to Clinton's tenure of Secretary of State, highlighting efforts to fight human trafficking as well as various diplomatic endeavors. She sees a world where girls are not captured and sold, but are fearless and bold, said Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota. Clinton's campaign manager, Robbie Mook, said that Tuesday's night's programming is designed to remind Americans about the former Secretary of State's long public service career. A lot of people aren't familiar with her accomplishments, Mook told ABC's Good Morning America. Bill Clinton addressed a Democratic convention as a political spouse for the first time. Clinton, who could soon become the country's first man, has been a Democratic convention staple for more than 20 years. His 1988 keynote address was widely panned as meandering, boring speech, but his 1992 nomination acceptance speech buoyed his struggling campaign. In more recent years, the former president has served as political character witness, most notably for Obama at his 2012 convention. So there you have that article. And then we have this off of BizPac Review. Bernie fans say their signs are being seized at the convention, ripping from people's hands. Bernie Sanders reported at the Democratic National Convention claiming people are seizing pro-Sanders signs in an effort to suppress the heavy support he is receiving on the convention floor. The allegations began to fly Monday night on Twitter just as the Democratic Convention kicked off. Many Sanders supporters in the arena booed every mention of presumed Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton, creating a divisive atmosphere at what is supposed to be the party's big celebration. They are ripping signs out of people's hands and threatening no credentials tomorrow if we hold up signs, one more Sanders delegate allegedly said in a text message exchange posted online by a friend. For my friend who is a Bernie delegate, please RT hashtag Dems in Philly, hashtag DNC in Philly, DNC, or no, Dem Convention. Despite the claim that the man is confiscating Sanders signs, it is not entirely clear what is actually happening in the video. When the video starts, the man in the suit already has a large Sanders sign, and a person appears to hand over a smaller Sanders sticker quite willingly. Other tweets claim that party operatives began handing out "Love Trump's Hate" signs to the audience in an effort to drown out the many Sanders signs. Some Sanders supporters quickly began modifying the signs to be pro-Sanders, though. California delegates are editing the signs that say, or that the DNC is handing out, with a hashtag Dems in Philly or hashtag DNC disaster. So I guess they're fussing. Lord have mercy. So we'll put that one down and we'll grab another in here. Let's see. This one is off the BizPac Review. Dems trot out illegal immigrants at the convention. One tells exactly how she illegally crossed the border. The GOP nominee, Donald Trump, focused on border security and victims of crimes committed by illegals at his convention. In a truly stunning display, the Democrats are actually celebrating their crime of illegal border crossing. During the Democratic National Convention, illegal immigrants took the stage to talk about their experiences of entering the country illegally. One pro-Hillary Clinton illegal immigrant took her speech a step further when she began describing exactly how she illegally entered the country from Mexico. And there are a lot of comments and stuff on this article, so if you want to pull that up, all these articles are in the description of the video. So you're welcome to pull them up, take a closer look-see at them. The next one, BizPac Review. No American flags at the Democratic National Convention. That's all you need to know, America. A national presidential convention is a distinctly American event, unless you happen to be a Democrat. If you turn the sound down on the 2016 Democratic Convention, you might mistake it for a convention of used car salesmen. So far, American flags didn't seem to be in sight, although Soviet and Palestinian flags made their appearance. Pictured above is a stage as the First Lady Michelle Obama was about to make her address, minus U.S. flags. Not a one in sight, and you can pull this picture up and take a look at it. I mean, nothing. Lord have mercy. Ironically, the First Lady during that speech said that America is the greatest country on earth. And then it says, "Wow, Michelle Obama just told the DNC that all lives matter and no one blinks." Someone called Shep Smith. On the other hand, Senator Bernie Sanders delegates and supporters love to display a very different kind of flag, the now defunct communist regime of the Soviet Union. No matter what your opinion of Senator Lindsey Graham, his description of the Vermont Independent was one of the best lines in the Republican presidential primary. The number 2 guy running for Democratic nomination went to the Soviet Union on his honeymoon, and I don't think he ever came back, the South Carolina Republican said. One could rightfully point out that the Soviet flags were displayed outside of the convention, although the hammer and sickle didn't make their appearance on the convention floor. The Palestinian flag was prominent. Former NYPD officer and current Miami-Fort Lauderdale radio host John Cardillo reported. And there is a tweet that he put out, says, didn't see any Palestinian flags at the RNC. The Democrats aren't hiding anything anymore. Then the article goes on and says, and what of the Republican National Convention? There was no mistaking it for anything but what it was, an American political convention. And it pictured Trump with about, 6 American flags behind him. So that's interesting. I think that pretty much speaks for itself. And the next one that we have here is off of the BNB Daily. Federal Reserve holds rate as the U.S. dollar slips again. Despite the U.S. dollar's continuous slide against other currencies on the exchange markets, it looks like the Federal Reserve is not going to raise interest rates this Wednesday. Of course, they may do so within the coming weeks. As a matter of fact, this will more than likely be the case as the euro U.S. dollar exchange rate improved nearly 0.25% last week. However, the U.S. dollar Japan exchange took a bit of a tumble by 1.36% to reach its lower trade volume since July 14th, now sitting at 104.35. Expectations of additional monetary and fiscal stimulus might have been tempered, especially when much was riding on Abe's stimulus plan, explains Bernard Awe, who is a strategist with IG Asia PTE, as he refers, of course, to Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He goes on to say, we could also see the Feds trying to strike a balance between sounding upbeat about U.S. economic outlook and curbing exuberance about rate hike hopes in September. According to Moody's analytic chief economist Mark Zandi, the holdout is probably just a precaution, he argues. The Fed remains cautious about still below target inflation, volatility in financial markets, and potential fallout from geopolitical events such as Brexit, adding that monthly jobs have gained at an impressive rate. However, with no indication of an actual rise in productivity, some federal policymakers may be more likely to argue for a quick increase in interest rates in order to avoid a surge in inflation. That is the danger, argues Princeton University Alan Binder, and you can be sure that the hawks are going to be arguing that. The former Fed vice chairman goes on to say, I have a hunch that they will be talking in July about September. New York Fed President William Dudley, although, argues that it might be better to wait for signs of improvement that are more tangible in order to call for an interest rate increase. Indeed, Matthew Carbray adds, I strongly believe that the Fed is much influenced by global markets. The Ridgeline Financial Partners managing partner goes on to say, I don't think rate hike will happen. The market is driving force behind these decisions. As much as we have experienced very strong market conditions, the Fed also understands that this is a very cautious environment that we're in. And to follow up that article, I have one from the Dayton Daily News in Dayton, Ohio. Local jobless rate increases in June. Jobless rates rose across the Miami Valley last month on a non-seasonally adjusted basis, according to figures released Tuesday by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. In Dayton, the June unemployment rate climbed to 6% from 5.5% in May, but was still below the 6.2% rate for the city in the same month last year, according to the jobs report. The trend was the same for most counties in the local area, including the area's most populous county, Montgomery, which saw its jobless rate climb last month to 4.9% from 4.6% in May, but was down from 5.1% last June. Miami and Greene counties also saw their jobless rates rise. Unemployment in Miami County pushed up to 4.3% last month from 3.9% in May. Meanwhile, Greene County posted a June unemployment rate of 4.5%, up to 4.1% the previous month. The June rates for both Miami and Greene counties were down from a year ago rates of 4.4% and 4.6% respectively. Across the state, unemployment rates increased in 78 counties, declined, well, now it's jumping around on me. Declined in 9 and remained unchanged in 1. Unemployment rates ranged from a low 3.2% in Mercer County to a high of 10.2% in Monroe County. And this goes on with a lot of statistics, but then it says the labor force shrunk by 16,000 and the labor force participation rate, or the percentage of the workforce either holding a job or actively seeking one, fell to 63.4% from 63.6% in May, the first decline in 8 months. And I don't know where they get these statistics from, because there's so many people that fall off when their unemployment stops and they still don't have a job. They just kind of give up, you know. They're just going to be on the welfare roll, or maybe making their money illegally or whatever, and they're not going to show up on the statistics. So I don't know how they come up with all these figures, and they don't present that in the article. But if you take this as gospel and you say that this is commonplace across the country, it still doesn't look good, even though they're saying that their rates are, you know, point something percent better than they were this time last year. They should put right along with the article, what's the percentage of people that's on welfare that don't have jobs? Put some statistics in there about people that have gone to jail because of their illegal activities that don't have jobs. Maybe they're not on welfare. You know, throw some of that in there. Let's really make this interesting. But no matter how you cut it, the economy doesn't look very good. Then we'll go to the next article, and the next one is off the Dave Hodges Common Sense Show. In a year, Trump will be dead, and the U.S. will be in a civil war if the global elite get their way. And this reads, it is my contention that the globalists will stop short of nothing to maintain control over the people. They will murder anyone and everyone who gets in their way. Today, humanity is waking up like never before. However, the struggle is just beginning. Some fear that we have awakened just in time to see the executioner put the noose around our neck. How long will the struggle last? One of the questions that people ask me is, how long will this struggle against the New World Order last? Answer, it will last until the second coming of Jesus. It is my contention that we will never know worldly peace, but we can achieve peace of mind if we act now against the evil that is running this planet. The article points out just how truly evil and satanic the New World Order is. The decree of their devotion to Lucifer should constitute a warning sign as to the degree that the NWO will go to in order to maintain their demonic power over the people. They will stop at nothing to continue their subjugation of humanity. One hand, we can do nothing and submit, and 90% of humanity will be exterminated according to the NWO plan. And then it says in parentheses, see below the details of their intentions. At the conclusion of the extermination phase, our spools and the total destruction of what constitutes a human being or God's creation will be the next target. I believe that this is the real reason behind transhumanism. If we continue to behave like sheep and do nothing, this is our immediate fate. However, if we collectively decide to stand and fight, we are signing on for a lifetime of conflict and struggle. The benefit to fighting back is that we may be able to buy some time. Eventually, we will all go through the final days. Whose world is it? As the curtain falls on humanity, isn't it time that we finally ask and answer the really big question? Who really runs the planet and what do they really want? The main purpose of this article is to answer that question. If you think that Donald Trump's election to the presidency will make the banksters and the criminal elite respect rule of law, think again. The criminal elite who oppose humanity will never, and I mean never, give up. Then you may ask, why vote for Trump? Because Trump gives humanity a fighting chance. At a minimum, he will push back the timeline established by the elite with regard to our demise. In case you have not heard, the criminal elite seek to plunder the resources, humanity, and dispose of 90% of us. A bioweapon is probably their first choice, and if you are new to the movement and think that this sounds totally outrageous, I have included quotes from global elite on what they have planned for you. These quotes are listed at the end of the article. At the end of the day, there is nowhere to run and hide. It is fight the NWO or die like a sheep. And then there's an excerpt here. Says a year from now, Trump, if elected, will be dead and all of Western civilization will be embroiled in a series of civil wars. Why do you think Obama just signed the July 1st executive order granting the UN authority to bring its peacekeepers onto American soil in order to subjugate America? And the article goes on, it says the above scenario would be a desirable sub-goal for the NWO, catapulting and giving into cognitive dissonance is no longer effective. There is nowhere you can run and hide from what is happening. The depopulation agenda in their own words. The following is a recurring theme contained within the personal words of several dozen global leaders. Theodore Roosevelt said, society has no business to permit degenerates to reproduce their kind. Dr. Arne Schultz, from the World Wildlife Fund Director of Conservation, stated this in 1984. Malthus has been vindicated. Reality is finally catching up with Malthus. The third world is overpopulated. It's an economic mess, and there's no way they could get out of it with this fast-growing population. Our philosophy is back to the village. Ted Turner, in an interview with the Audubon magazine, said, a total world population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline from present levels would be ideal. Thomas Ferguson, from the State Department Office of Population Affairs, said, there is a single theme behind all our work. We must reduce population levels. Either government do it our way through nice, clean methods, or they will get the kinds of mess that we have in El Salvador or Iran or in Beirut. Population is a political problem. One population is out of control. It requires authoritarian government, even fascism, to reduce it. Our program in El Salvador didn't work. The infrastructure was not there to support it. There were just too many people. To really reduce population quickly, you have to pull all the males into the fighting and you have to kill significant numbers of fertile aged females. The quickest way to reduce population is through famine, like in Africa, or through disease, like the Black Death. Alexander King and Bernard Schneider, founder and secretary, respectively, of the Club of Rome, the first global revolution, states in 1991. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. But in designating them as the enemy, we fall into the trap of mistaking symptoms for causes. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. And this goes on and on and on and on with these quotes, and you're welcome to read them. The article URL is in the description. In conclusion to this article, it says, in short, these ruthless thugs will stop at nothing until they have total control. They will destroy the planet and everyone in it before they relinquish power. Nobody will be spared, so may as well fight. America has a 4-month window in order to wake up all of humanity. We will not get a second chance. It's now or never. What are you going to do? So I thought that that was a very informative article I wanted to share with you. The next one I have is off of Jihad Watch. Raymond Abramam. When it comes to Islam, Western leaders are liars or idiots. And it says, when it comes to the connection between Islam and violence against non-Muslims, one fact must be embraced. The majority of those in positions of leadership and authority in the West are either liars or fools or both. No other alternative exists. The reason for this uncharitable assertion is simple. If Islam was once a faraway, exotic religion, today we hear calls for and see acts of violence committed in its name or in the name of its deity, Allah Akbar, practically every day, and many of us still have ears that hear and eyes that see. It's no secret Muslims from all around the world and from all walks of life, not just terrorists or ISIS, unequivocally and unapologetically proclaim that Islam commands them to hate, subjugate, or kill all who resist it, including all non-Muslim infidels. This is the official position of several Muslim governments, including America's closest friends and allies like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It's the official position of Islamic institutions of lower and higher learning, from Bangladesh high schools to Egypt's Al-Azhar and the world's most prestigious Islamic university, and its official position broadcast in numerous languages on Islamic satellite stations that air into Muslim homes around the world. In short, there is no excuse today for ignorance about Islam, especially for those in positions of leadership or authority. Yes, it is precisely they who most vehemently deny any connection between Islam and violence. Why? The most recent example, as of this writing, that is, took place on July the 18th in Germany. An axe-waving Muslim refugee attacked a number of train passengers and critically injured 3. Although an ISIS flag was found in his room, although he called for the slaughter of many Muslims who dare leave Islam, although he yelled Allah Akbar, Islam's unequivocal war cry, authorities claimed it was too early to speculate about the motives of the attacker. Catholic Bishop Friedhelm Hofmann of Würzburg, where the axe attack took place, was bewildered. One is speechless at such a moment. This fact cannot be understood. Instead of being vigilant around Muslim immigrants, he suggested maybe we need to help the unaccompanied young refugees even more and help them to overcome their own traumas. About a month earlier in Germany, this same scene played itself over while screaming Allah Akbar and infidels must die. Another Muslim man in another train station stabbed to death one man and injured 3 others. Still, German authorities found no evidence of Islamic motive. In neighboring France, which has Europe's largest Muslim minority and is also coincidentally the most threatened country, this sequence of events, a Muslim attack in the name of Islam, authorities claim difficulty in finding motive, is becoming epidemic. On July the 19th, a Muslim man vacationing with his pregnant wife and children stabbed a neighboring woman and her 3 daughters for being scantily dressed. The young girl, age 8, was in critical condition with a punctured lung. Although this is a common occurrence throughout the Muslim world, many Muslim women don the jihad precisely because they know the consequences of not doing so in public. And although French television was bold enough to say that the man named Mohammed B., 37, may have acted out of religious motives, local mayor Edmond Franco said he preferred not to speculate about the motive of the attack. A few days earlier, another Allah Akbar screaming Muslim killed 84 people in Nice. Yet, according to French Interior Minister Bernard Cabillaud, the killer's motives were not yet established. Asked if he could at least confirm the attacker's motives were linked to jihadism, he said no. Rutgers went so far as to write an article blaming France for its own terrorism. Turning to the United States, one finds the same pattern at work. Most recently, when a Muslim man went into a homosexual nightclub in Orlando and killed 49, despite the fact that ISIS regularly kills homosexuals, and that the killer, who recited prayers to Allah during the attack, pledged his allegiance to the group. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said that the investigation is still ongoing and a motive has yet to be established, while the FBI was confused about Mateen's motive. Earlier this year, Edward Archer, a convert to Islam, shot and wounded Philadelphia police officer Jesse Hartnett. He later explained his motive. I follow Allah. I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. That is why I did what I did. Yet after showing a surveillance video of Archer in the Islamic dress shooting at Harlot, Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney emphatically declared, and here's his quote, "In no way, shape, or form does anyone in this room believe that Islam is the teaching of Islam is anything to do with what you've seen on the screen. It is abhorrent, it is terrible, and it does not represent the religion or any of its teachings. This is a criminal with a stolen gun who tried to kill one of our officers. It has nothing to do with being a Muslim or following Islamic faith." One could go on from California alone, despite the evidence that the Muslim couple that massacred 14 people in San Bernardino was motivated by Islamic teachings of jihad against the hated infidel. Obama claimed we do not know their motivations. Chris Hayes and MSNBC were also baffled in their search for a motive, despite the many indicators that the Muslim student who went on a stabbing spree in UC Merst was described as a devout Muslim, had an ISIS flag, and praised Allah in his manifesto. Local and federal authorities insisted that Faisal Muhammad, age 18, carried out the vicious attack because he'd been banished from a study group, despite the fact that a man named Jihad went to an El Monte police station where he used the word jihad several times while making a bomb threat. Police so far don't have a motive. Most politicians, practically every Democrat, but also a majority of Republicans, with the notable exception of Donald Trump, make the same claims. This begins with U.S. President Obama, who insists that the Islamic State is of the ignorance that equates Islam with terror and classified the Fort Hood massacre as workplace violence. Despite the overwhelming evidence, it was jihad. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton admonished us to bear in mind that Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism. Republican leaders like John McCain gush about how unequivocally, without a doubt, the religion of Islam is an honorable and reasonable religion. ISIS has nothing to do with the reality of Islam. Conservative talking heads like Bill O'Reilly flippantly dismiss jihad as a perversion of Islam. We all know that. What is to be made of all these claims from our leaders that fly in the face of reality? Only immensely deranged or immensely deceitful people can claim that a Muslim who cites the Quran and calls on Allah is not acting in the name of Islam. Take your pick, but there is no other alternative. And the article goes on for a little bit, but that's you get the gist. And this you will not see on the mainstream media, I guarantee. Next one that I have for you is off the Daily Caller News Foundation. DNC Interfaith Prayer Space has no sign of any religion except Islam. Out of Philadelphia, the Democratic National Convention has curtained off several interfaith spaces for prayer, but the only sign of religion in any of the spaces is Islam. Convention goers looking to get in touch with the God of their choice can visit the Interfaith Prayer Room on the first floor of the Wells Fargo Center, which consists of a series of spaces sectioned off by curtains. A sign hangs over the first space, which is simply an empty room, and says Interfaith Prayer Room. And the article goes on and says the second area has a few chairs and some prayer mats. A third large space is set up to accommodate Muslims with a mat set up on the floor. It's jumping here. Presumably facing Mecca, and sanitizing stations so Muslims can wash before they pray. A fourth space is another large empty room. Aside from Islam, no sign of any other religion was present. Kind of surprising for so-called interfaith prayer area if they can set up huge hand sanitizing station and figure out which way is Mecca. Seems like grabbing a copy of a Bible or a crucifix wouldn't be a huge deal, or a drum for New Age types, or even some incense to help out Hindu believers. How about a pen and paper for believers who prefer to journal their prayers, or a Jewish prayer book? The space were also devoid of praying people, with the exception of one woman wearing Birkenstocks and a Bernie Sanders t-shirt plopped up on the floor next to some chairs, casually swiping through her iPhone. The prayer room is flanked by a quiet and recovery room, also empty except for some chairs and a space for nursing mothers, and inexplicably occupied by two men when this reporter walked through. A few volunteers standing outside declined to provide information on the interfaith space, saying they were only in charge of the lactation tent. I'm going to excuse myself, one woman said. I can't give you any information on that. So there you have that one. And we'll see what else we've got here. Let's see. The next one is off the Daily Mail. Parents and their 2-year-old daughter are burned alive after being caught trying to flee from ISIS in Iraq. Mother and father were captured along with the daughter south of Kirkuk. 3 family members were burned alive as punishment for fleeing the area. ISIS have tasked members with tracking down families trying to run away. A family, including a 2-year-old girl, have been burned alive after they tried to escape from ISIS savages in Iraq, it has emerged. The mother and father were captured along with their young daughter as they tried to flee from Rashad village, southwest of Kirkuk, in the north of the country. It comes amid claims ISIS fanatics have tasked members with tracking down families trying to run away from the terror group's territories in the area. According to Iraq News, a source in Kirk said, this evening, ISIS burned a family of 3, father, mother, and 2-year-old girl, while they were trying to escape from the organization's grip in Rashad village. The family was walking through Harnan Mountains to Al-Alam village in Salahaddin province. The anonymous source added, ISIS has deployed members to arrest families that run away from ISIS sites southwest of Kirk. It is not the first time reports have emerged of entire families being wiped out by the extremists. In May, a family including 3 children were executed in the same way as punishment for trying to flee from the same area. The children and their parents were reportedly set on fire in public in Riyadh district, 25 miles south of Kirk. They had been accused of trying to flee the area, and amid fierce fighting as Iraq forces were attempting to retake Mosul to the city's northwest. There were reports that the 5 family members were doused with fuel before setting them on fire. And we have this one. This is off the All News Pipeline. This is so huge it defies my ability to communicate how dangerous it is. We only get so many warnings before something goes terribly wrong, says the article. This is off of Turkey, and it says here, a new story from foreign policy focus Steve Quayle recently linked on his website warns us that Americans may now be at a greater risk of a nuclear catastrophe than we were during the Cold War. In fact, according to former U.S. Defense Secretary William Perry, most people are blissfully unaware of this danger. However, being blissfully unaware of danger doesn't make the danger go away. Perry further warns us it is only by chance that the world has avoided nuclear war, sometimes by nothing more than dumb luck. However, as we learn in the stories linked within and the videos below, our luck may be running out. As we told you in a story on the ANP back in July 21st, the highest act of treason may have recently been committed against America. We asked then if the recent coup attempt in Turkey would be what enabled ISIS to get the nuclear weapons they used to annihilate us with. We've since learned that the danger hasn't gone away despite power being returned to the Eneric Air Force Base in Turkey, where NATO houses upwards of 50 B-61 nuclear weapons, each 10 times more powerful than the one that leveled Hiroshima, Japan. However, how safe are the nukes in Turkey? According to Steve Quayle, in a recent conversation with him, this is so huge it defies my ability to communicate how dangerous it is. And that article goes on, but you get the gist. The nukes are over there. The dictator, Erdogan, is kicking everybody out that disagrees with him. He's created havoc on that air base with the American airmen over there. And all those bombs are sitting there. Wow. That don't scare you. I don't know what's wrong with you. But I always like to try to bring you something positive, something that you can do, something to help you cope with what is going on in the nation and in the world. And I found this article, and I thought that this was worth bringing to the table. If you want to know something that you can do, this might be up your alley. This is off the U.S. News Healthcare. Roll up your sleeves. Red Cross says blood need is urgent. This was from yesterday, and it says the American Red Cross says it has an urgent need for blood donations with less than a 5-day supply of blood on hand to help those who need it. The Red Cross continues to have an emergency need for blood and platelet donors to give now and help save patient lives. Nick Gehrig, Communications Director for the Red Cross Blood Services, said in a news release. The organization noted it first alerted Americans to the need for blood and platelet donations back in early July, and while donation levels did rise, a critical blood shortage remains, the group said. At times, blood and platelets are being distributed to hospitals faster than the donations coming in, which impacts the ability to rebuild the blood supply, the Red Cross explained. Right now, the national supply has dipped below the 5-day level. The Red Cross says it needs to make sure it's ready for unforeseen emergencies. We are grateful to those who have already stepped up this summer to give and want to remind those who are eligible that hospital patients are still counting on them to roll up a sleeve, Gehrig said. All blood types are needed, and the Red Cross is even offering donors an incentive in the blood drive. All those who donate by August 31st will receive $5 Amazon gift card claim code emailed to them after their donation. To schedule an appointment to donate, head to redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's 1-800-733-2767. Donated blood can save lives. Just ask Ray Pullen, whose liver and kidneys failed after severe blood infection, severe blood infection. Given only a 1 in 10 chance of survival, he received 77 units of blood and lived. There was a lot that went into saving my life, but if the blood wasn't available when I needed it, I wouldn't be here today, Pullen said in the Red Cross news release. And if you need more information to find a donation center, go to the Red Cross website, American Red Cross, and I'm sure that they can point you in the right direction. So we have that. There is something you can do, however small. We're still alive, we're still kicking, and we still have the opportunity to help each other and ourselves. And remember, helping begins with that face you look at in the mirror. Smile at people, make eye contact with them, and when you ask them a question, be sure you want to know the answer and mean it when you ask it. Don't casually just, blow things by. There's no time like the present. So with that, we're going to turn you loose for today, and I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. If you did, put a like down there, the thumbs up on the video, and share it so your friends can listen to it, and hopefully we'll get more people in here that can enjoy these broadcasts and help contribute. We need all the help we can get. So with that, I'm going to bid you goodbye for this afternoon and see you back here at noon tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.